Hi, welcome. The previous video we have seen one of the applications of Biot-Savart's law. In that video we have seen how to find an expression for magnetic field intensity due to an infinitely long straight conductor. So the next application which we are looking into is magnetic field intensity due to a circular loop. So circular loop is some conductor, or basically you can consider a copper wire wounded in the shape of a ring. So we are going to calculate what will be magnetic field intensity created by this ring conductor on its axis. So our interest is to find the magnetic field intensity only on its axis. So you know that axis of the circular loop will pass through the center of the ring. Now one more thing which you should understand is, in this particular derivation we will be considering this circular ring normal to the plane of the paper. In the sense, if you consider some board like this, now you are going to hold the ring, something like this, normal to the screen, normal to the plane of the paper, and axis is somewhere at the center of this. I know this is not a circular ring. I have taken some example to show you that. That's it, some example to show you. So you imagine that this is a circular ring. My intention is to just to make you understand how this is kept on the plane of paper. So this is kept normal to, can you imagine, it's perpendicular to the plane of the paper, and my axis is like this. Axis is from the center, like this. So I have to find the magnetic field intensity somewhere, somewhere this side here at the top of the pen, somewhere here. This is where my point is. Now very important thing here to understand is, this is lying in a different plane and my path, should not forget Biot-Savart's law. What does Biot-Savart's law say? So the magnetic field intensity is directly proportional to the sine of angle made by the line joining the conductor and the path. So this is a circular ring, this is the axis, so I will be joining a line from the top of the conductor to this point, to this point. I will be joining a line from the top of. Now strictly speaking, this particular axis, this particular axis will be in this plane, that is on the paper plane, and the circular cylinder is in normal to that plane. So this point P will be on xy plane, for example, some plane, or you can take, if you can remember the coordinate system, this plane of the paper is z and y, zy plane, just for an example, zy plane, but this circular loop is lying in xz plane. This is in xz plane and this is in, my point P is lying on yz plane, and this is xz plane. Now what will be the angle between the line joining an xz plane and a yz plane? It will be 90 degree. It is difficult to imagine or understand, but you know that these planes are separated by 90 degrees, is it not? Because this x-axis is exactly normal to you, so this is exactly at a 90 degree, to this axis. This is exactly at 90 degree. So the line joining the circular cylinder and point P will be exactly at 90 degree. This you have to remember while applying Biot-Savart's law. So I hope physically it's very clear where we are going to keep the circular ring and where we are going to consider the point P to calculate magnetic field intensity. Okay, now let us get into the derivation part. So as I just told you, we are going to consider a plane circular loop of some radius carrying a current I with its plane perpendicular to plane of the paper, and we will be considering some point P on its axis at some distance from its center. Okay, so let me pictorially represent that. So let this be my circular loop or a ring carrying some current I, capital I, where the current flow in anti-clockwise direction. So you can use the thumb rule to find what will be the direction of the magnetic field also, if you are interested. Okay, so my point P where I need to calculate my magnetic field intensity is somewhere here. Okay, which is at some distance from the center of the circular loop, let it be x distance. Okay, so we'll mark it as a small x. So to proceed with, what I will do is I will consider a differential element of length, okay, at the top of the loop, because Biot-Savart's law is usually applied for differential current length. So I will consider a small differential length on the top of the loop. It can be considered anywhere, but we'll start the derivation with this. So at the top of the loop you have differential length. I will not consider vector representation for this derivation. We'll keep the things very simple. Now from here I have to draw a line, right, path to the point P. I'll also, okay, let this distance be capital R, and I'll also measure the radius of the loop. So it's capital small r. Small r will give you the radius. Now the angle made by the path joining the conductor, differential current element and point P is theta. So I'll mark it here. Okay. The concept of this angle was well explained just now using a board, right? Okay, so theta comes somewhere there. That's why I'm marking it there. And I'll consider an angle at a point P also, because that angle at point P is going to vary when dl is varying throughout the loop, right? If this dl is somewhere here, then my line joining will be this. Theta remains the same, but phi will decrease. So phi is the angle variable which is going to tell me where exactly this dl is located on this circular ring. Nice. Okay, so this is angle phi. Okay, now by using or applying Biot-Savart's law, we'll try to write an expression for magnetic field intensity at a point P. Okay, so dH, again I'll consider the magnitude. Okay, dH, we will add upon the effect of vector at the end of this derivation. Okay, because we'll keep things simple in this case. So dH is ideal sin theta by 4 pi r square. So this is directly lifting the expression from statement of Biot-Savart's law. Now we already know that the line joining the loop and the plane of the paper angle will be 90 degrees. So theta is 90 degrees. So I can easily write dH as ideal by 4 pi r square. So sin theta becomes 1, sin 90 degrees 1. So this becomes ideal by 4 pi r square. Yeah. Now there is something interesting here. This dH, okay, this dH ideal by 4 pi r square is in some direction, because that's why I am considering only the magnitude. Okay, so this dH is in some direction. So what will be the direction? So usually when we are struggling with the direction of magnetic field or magnetic field intensity, we always consider the direction to be normal. Here I have to consider the direction of dH normal to the path joining the circular this differential length and point P. Okay, so my dH I'm assuming normal to the path joining. So my dH will be something like this. Okay, so this is the assumed direction of dH. This is just an assumption. So because I don't know the exact direction of dH, so as a physician what I will do is I will consider this normal to the plane. So in this case, I'm talking about two separate planes. So I will take the path joining the conductor and P as per the definition of Biot-Savart's law as the reference. So normal to it. So I assume that this is the direction of magnetic field intensity given by this expression. Okay, now there is something interesting here. When I have this dH in some random direction, I'll become a mathematician. Okay, I'll forget that I was a physician. I'll become a mathematician. What I will do is I'll try to resolve this, right? I'll try to resolve this into two components, horizontal component and vertical component, so that my further explanation of this vector will be definable, like in particular direction, definable direction. So let me resolve into two components, horizontal component and vertical component. So horizontal component, this is the angle phi. So considering the symmetry, I can consider this angle is also phi. So the horizontal component will become dH sin phi and vertical component will become dH cos phi. I think I don't want to explain it further. You know how to take horizontal and vertical components. Okay. So this is dH cos phi and dH sin phi. Okay. Now listen carefully. This is the case when dl is considered at the top of the loop. Now the same dl can be considered somewhere here, right? Likewise, this dl can be anywhere on this circular loop. Now, what if this dl is exactly opposite? That is at the bottom of the loop. This is at the top of the loop. Okay, with reference to the screen. Now this is at the bottom. If this dl is at the bottom, so this will be R, this will be the line joining, right? And my dh will be in this direction. My dh will be in this direction. So I will be resolving it into two components again, where the horizontal component remains same, but the vertical component will be in this direction now. Equal in magnitude, but opposite in direction. So what does it tells you? Yeah, these vertical components will cancel each other and this horizontal component will get added up. In the sense, when I'm shifting this dl, because at a point P, I got dh, but my intention is to find at P what is the total magnetic field intensity, which is H vector. So when I am calculating H vector, what I have to do? I have to integrate this dl over the perimeter of this loop, right? So I have to calculate what is dl here, what is dl. At every point on this loop, I have to calculate what is dh, add them, I'll get h. That is the idea. So when I shift to this dl here, okay, correspondingly there will be another dl here also, right? So this dh cos phi here and dh cos phi of this particular also will cancel. So I have just taken top and bottom as an example. So this is true throughout the loop. So anywhere you consider dl, you consider the exactly opposite dl, dh sin phi will remain same, but dh cos phi will cancel each other. That particularly tells you that just vertical components will always cancel each other. This dh sin phi remains. Dh sin phi remains. Now what does it intent tells you? The intent tells you that dh does not have two components. In this case, dh does not have two components. Dh is always dh sin phi. Interesting. Dh has only horizontal component, means that is the direction of h. H, okay, why? Because it is not dh. Dh is this. Dh will have always two components. And dh will be in this direction. But when I am calculating h, I have to consider the entire loop. In that case, I will have so many dhs here. I hope you have understood that. And so many dh cos phi here. This dh cos phi will be exactly equal and opposite. But this will be always dh sin phi. That means when I calculate h, it is the total effect of dh sin phi. There is no dh in this direction and thereby there is no dh cos phi. So magnetic field intensity is perpendicular to the loop. That is the meaning. Perpendicular to the loop in this direction. Perpendicular to the loop. So that is total dh sin phi. Okay, I hope it's very clear. So my h, okay, my total h magnetic field intensity will be integral of dh sin phi, means the total effect of dh sin phi at different DLs will produce this ds sin phi. So I have to calculate the total effect. So total effect is by integrating dh sin phi. If it was non-DL, I'll add them. Since I don't know, it's very indefinitely small DLs, I'll integrate them. I hope this is very clear. Now see, what I do is, I'll substitute, okay, I'll substitute for this dh. I'll substitute for this dh from here, ideal 4 pi r square. So this becomes ideal divided by 4 pi r square sin phi. Yeah. Now from figure, can you tell me what is sin phi? Okay, so I can write this as I by 4 pi r square. Okay, here everything is constant, right? I is current flowing through circular loop, which is same current, which is constant. 4 pi r square. R is this distance. Point P is not going to change its position, so this is also constant. So I by 4 pi r square, the total term is constant. So I have to just integrate sin phi. That's again interesting, right? Okay, don't forget dl. Okay, so dl sin phi. So I have to just integrate dl sin phi, and from the figure, with reference to figure, I can obtain sin phi from the triangle. If I consider this as a triangle now, okay, sin phi is with respect to this angle. So sin phi is opposite side by hypotenuse. So I can write it as small r by capital R. And I will directly substitute what is sin phi in this equation. So this becomes in I by 4 pi r square integral dl of r by r. Again, as I told you that this point P is constant, is not going to change its position. This x will be constant, obviously this r will be constant, as well as the radius of the circular loop is also not changing during the course of derivation. Agree, because this will be a fixed circular loop. So this r by r is also constant, so I can take it outside of this derivation. Okay, so this becomes h equal to Ri, current is there, Ri divided by 4 pi r cube and integral dl. Now see, I have to just integrate dl. Now what do you mean by integrating dl? So I have to integrate dl in the sense I have to consider dl traveling over this entire circular loop. So from the starting point, we have considered this as the starting point, top, from the top back to top. So it has to travel entire perimeter of this circular loop. That means what? If I consider this as the reference, okay, I started measuring the perimeter of this circular loop here. So the entire perimeter will be 2 pi times r. So I have to integrate dl from 0 to 2 pi r. Nice. So I have to integrate dl from 0 to 2 pi r. So integral of dl will be L. Okay, so I'll write IR. So H is IR divided by 4 pi r cube. Integral of dl is L from 0 to 2 pi r. So applying the upper limit, lower limit is anyway 0. So applying it, so I get IR into 2 pi r divided by 4 pi r cube. Now cancelling out the common term, pi 2 times 4, I get H as IR square. I have R here R. So IR square divided by 2 pi is cancelled, so 2r cube. So this is my H. Okay, so I get H as IR square by 2r cube. Now again from the triangle, okay, from this imaginative triangle, you can write an expression for R in terms of x and r. That is because I am interested in that, because my intention is to find magnetic field intensity of a circular loop on axis only, on the axis. So this point P is lying always on the axis. When I say axis, we have kept x, r and r as constant, but this r will be anyway constant, but this x can easily vary, right? This point P can be anywhere on the axis, so this x can easily vary. So it is better to write r in terms of x, r, that is capital R, in terms of x and r. Okay, I'll repeat. Now this calculation of r is not easy. Why? Because my reference is P, point P, where I need to calculate magnetic field intensity. So this distance may be given to you. You will say that, okay, I have a circular current loop of radius 2 meter and the current flowing is 5 ampere. You need to find magnetic field intensity 10 meter away from the loop. That means x will be given to you. This capital R will not be given to you. So I should write this final expression in terms of x and r. So because r is constant, x is the only variable which will be known to you. So it is better to write in that form. I hope that why I'm changing this equation is very clear to you. So I don't want this capital R here. I want in terms of the distance. Okay. So from the figure, what will be capital R? The capital R will be, I'll get this as a right angle triangle, right? So capital R will be square root of r square plus x square, Pythagoras theorem. So square root of r square plus x square. So I'll just substitute that. So I get h as I r square divided by 2 times r cube I have here. I have r cube here. This is r square plus x square, square root r square plus x square raised to 1 by 2. So when I substitute here, it becomes 3 by 2. Okay. So r square by x square power 3 by 2. So I get this as h. Now once I have h, it is always nice to write the expression for B also, that is flux density also, magnetic flux density also, because magnetic flux density is mu into h. It's very easy. So let me write the expression in terms of B also. Okay, so I'll find some space here. Okay. Okay, now one more thing. So before going to B, writing the expression in B, see here, the expression is expression for H is in magnitude. I didn't consider the direction of magnetic field intensity at all. But at this point of time, we know that the magnetic field intensity will be in this direction. Right? Explained here. There is no dH, there is no dH cos phi. They are cancelling each other. So my total H is always in this direction. Always in this direction. So if I assume that this plane, okay, as I explained at the starting of this video, if you assume that this plane is in xz plane, then this direction will be in which direction? In Cartesian coordinate system, this will be in y direction. This will be in y direction. So my h is in this direction, y direction. So how to represent h in vector? So vector quantity is magnitude into direction. So this is my magnitude. What is direction? Ay cap, because it's in y direction, considering that this is in xz plane. Is that fine? Okay, so let me first represent h in vector form, then I will write the expression for B vector. Okay, yeah. So now h in vector form is ir square divided by 2 r square plus x square power 3 by 2 ay cap. I hope this is very clear. Why ay cap? This is how I represent h as a vector. See, it's very silly. I didn't consider h as a vector during the derivation, but using the concept, now I know that h is going to be in this direction. So h directly becomes h vector, magnitude into direction. Yeah. Now B vector is mu into h. So it is mu I r square divided by 2 times r square plus x square. So in the previous derivation also I told you that it's better practice to write the units. So h is ampere per meter and this is ay cap, and the unit here is Weber per meter square. Okay, I hope this derivation. So this is the expression. Okay, so the magnetic field intensity at point P lying on the axis of a circular loop is I r square divided by 2 times r square plus x square 3 by 2 in ay cap direction, considering xz plane. Okay, circular loop is in xz plane. So in general, it is this expression. Okay, now you can see once the radius of the circular loop is known to you, and if the distance where the point P is located is given to you, you can easily calculate what is the magnetic field intensity given. So current also will be, so current carrying by the conductor is known. Nice, radius is known, and the distance at which you have to calculate field intensity is also known. You can easily calculate what is magnetic field intensity. You just derived a magical equation now. Okay, so to make things easier. Now it's not the end. It's not the end. Yeah. Now there is a special case. The special case is, as I told you, this point P can be anywhere on the axis. Anywhere on the axis. It can be here, right? It can be somewhere here. It can be somewhere here. It can be anywhere. Now the special case is, what if this point P is exactly at the center of circular loop? Then what happens? This point P, I am shifting this point P to the center of the circular loop. So will I get any magnetic field intensity? Will be the magnetic field intensity 0? we have to check, right? Because at some distance you know now how to calculate. Now this point P is shifted to at the center. You are asked to calculate what is magnetic field intensity at exactly at the center of a given circular loop. Again, current will be given to you, radius will be given to you. Now distance is not required because this distance is 0, x is 0. That itself is the hint. So what should I do? To obtain that expression, okay, the special case where point P is lying at the center of the circular loop, I have to just put this x equal to 0 in the final expression. I have to just put x equal to 0 in this final expression. So if P, okay, point P is at center, okay, the point P is located at the center of circular loop. If it is at the center, as I explained, x will be 0. Then what will be my h vector? Okay, in this equation, I just substitute x equal to 0. So what happens? I get IR square divided by 2 times r square power 3 by 2. R square power 3 by 2. So what I get? Yeah, r cube, right? R cube. But here I have r square. So you should be very happy. You can cancel out this r square with this cube. So I just end up with h vector equals I divided by 2r. Okay, since it's a vector, I'll let us a by cap. So I by 2r a by cap will be magnetic field intensity at the center of a circular loop. Nice. So it's very simple equation now. It is current carried by the circular loop divided by 2 times the radius of the circular loop. You will get what is magnetic field intensity at the center of the circular. So it is never 0. It has a very good value. Okay. So magnetic field intensity at the center of a circular loop or circular ring will be a very good value, which is given by I by 2r. Okay. So this much ampere per meter, and my B vector, what will be my B vector? Flux density will be mu times this. So this will be mu I divided by 2r a by cap Weber per meter square. So I hope you understood how to obtain a good mathematical equation for calculating magnetic field intensity at some point on an axis of a circular loop. So we have make use of Biot-Savart's law, applied it in a meaningful way and obtained the expression. Thank you for watching.